Hey everyone, it's Kelly with Kelly Weaver Photography, and I am here with Josh today, and he works with Planet Home Lending, and he's also a personal branding coach. And because we're doing so much more on the personal branding side, I thought we would talk with Josh, who's a coach, and he can help us learn a little bit more about that. So I just photographed Josh not very long ago, and he's got some great tips for us. So I thought I'd just introduce Josh and we'll start from there. Does that sound good, Josh?
That's great. Thanks, Kelly. Our shoot was a blast. So I'm excited to keep talking about this
Oh my
and
God.
personal branding because you did a great job. It was phenomenal.
Well, it was so easy to photograph you, by the way, let me tell you. But can you tell our listeners a little bit more about what personal branding means and why it's so important?
Yeah, a lot of times personal branding gets lumped into the same category as marketing, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Really, the way I tell my clients is that marketing tells people what to buy, but branding tells people how to feel about who they're buying from. So it's a lot of like the feely, touchy-feely, the stuff that you can't really grasp, right? And so though it feels ethereal, personal branding at its core is really just being true to yourself and who you are in your business, and then finding a creative pathway for broadcasting that to the world. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, that
More
would be
important.
my what is branding?
Yes, and more important now than that we're in this virtual world, right?
Mhm.
We have to get a sense of who people are. So can you tell us a little bit about why and how personal branding images are different from your standard headshot?
Yeah. So the power of branding right now is that it's one of the biggest trust building tools between professionals and consumers. We live in a completely different economic environment than what we were used to in the past with sales and marketing and advertising. And so we've got to rely on things like branding. And that's where the images really help to foster some of that trust right off of the bat. And so it's almost like a difference between a warm welcome and just a casual, like, hey, how are you? So really personal branding images are that first broadcasted um, really message that you want to get across about who you are.
And how do you do that? Is there a way to bring your style and your personality into the session?
Yeah, I think that first of all, you have to be confident in who you are, right? You've got to know like good questions to hard or good answers to hard questions. Things like, hey, if my brand was a color, what would it be? Right? If my brand was an animal, what would it be? That starts to help you navigate and get closer towards refining what you would even say, hey, what do I wear? Or how do I, if I am trying to communicate like warmth, then I want to make sure that I'm going to be happier. I'm not going to be as stoic, maybe. So there's a lot of like choices throughout the process of image branding that are important to make.
Right. And I think part of that also has to do with having a clear idea of who your target audience is
Yeah.
and who you're trying to speak to.
Well, and that's a huge piece of brand awareness that each of us could have in our own personal brand is like, if you don't know your audience and if you don't have a target audience, you're actually not going to have clarity in your brand messaging. So that's a
Absolutely.
great point.
Clarity. It's absolutely so important. And so you were so good at moving through the session that I just have to share a little bit of some of the images that I took of Josh to everyone here. So basically, can you tell us a little bit about, and here's some of your images, how you incorporated movement and how that was so easy for you? Because for so many people, they struggle with that. And
Mm,
especially towards the end, where we just kind of did a free flow period.
yeah.
I just love that.
I think that when we are talking personal brand, right, you're not going to be like the kind of typical studio, a gray backdrop and like suit and tie. Like we really are seeing a shift even in amongst industries that typically had those sort of images. We're seeing a shift into something a little bit more welcoming. And as far as movement goes, I just know that when I'm posing for a photo, I don't feel like myself. I feel like I'm Josh posing for a photo. But when I can just like kind of be casual and like move around and trust that you, Kelly, are going to be able to capture what looks good in any given, time. But I know that I'm coming into it more relaxed And it's really, I'm trusting the photographer rather than trying to stage a pose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think movement in general just relaxes us more,
Yeah,
because I think when we're sitting on a stool looking at the camera, it's hard for anyone. So it does kind of take the stress out when you start moving.
it
So,
does. Yeah. Yeah.
and
And
then
I think that also, when it comes to movement, like you just have to think, what would you do naturally? Like if I was sitting on the stool, as I'm just sitting on the stool, I would be different than if I was posed on a stool. So just try to think of what would you do normally if a camera was in front of your face, right?
yeah, exactly. I love it. And music helps, I have
It
to
does. That
say.
does for sure.
So last question, what is your tip, number one tip on how to use these images once someone gets them?
Yeah, that's what I love about these images, is that they have such crossover in worlds of personal life, whether that's your personal social media, kind of integrating that into your posts and um, your things that you're putting out there, but also like I went immediately and changed my email signature. I changed my social media profiles, both professionally and personally, um, because I think that today your personal life is a part of your professional brand, whether you like it or not. And so to have some continuity, even with the same photo shoot and different images, maybe brings it to a place where you're bridging the gap. And really leveraging that personal brand in the best way. So I say email signatures, profile pictures. I even started to have good decision makers within my industry take a look at them as a way to continually be in front of the right people. And so you can even leverage those for the growth of your business. Just say, hey, I'd love your input, or what do you think about these? And then it starts a conversation. And so you can think strategic about that as well.
Hmm. And blogging nowadays, I think they're key for blogging, and we can photograph in a way that fits a particular blog theme, and I think that's another great way. So, but I love what you said about email signature. I think it's the best thing you can do. And the first thing you should do is change your email signature, because people want to see you, and
Yeah.
especially if you're prospecting and you've never met them, it's just a subtle way to say hello. So.
And I really think that those images, when you're posting on them on social media, they lend to storytelling.
Yeah.
Your brand and your business. It really lends to the posts that say, "Hey, what's your why?" These are the images that are perfect for those sorts of posts. And so, often you should be using those in social media posts.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think everything you said was so helpful, and hopefully we will be able to interview you some more as we go and get more into this topic. It's definitely a on-trend topic. Everybody wants to talk about personal branding now, so we just appreciate you speaking to our clients and helping us out, and hope we can talk to you more about this.
Thanks, Kelly. You're the best.
Okay,
I
Josh,
appreciate you.
we'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.